Hello and a very warm welcome once again to the United Forum. It's been a really long time since we had our last show as well, and I really apologize for that as well. It's obviously due to the situation in the country. There has been regular power cuts at regular times as well, at times twice a day, thrice a day. If you are part of Sri Lanka, you do know about these power cuts and how much of a headache they are. And apart from the power cuts, we are also having other difficulties, which I would not like to go on. But Sri Lanka at the moment is going through a crisis time, and that is actually why I couldn't actually go on with the podcast as well. The power cuts were during these times, so it was a little difficult. And even today there was a power cut as well. It's difficult getting my content on time, and that is why I did not want to risk it as well, because I really did not know if the power cuts would be during my show, which would spoil the fun for us. And that is also one reason why I did not go on with the show. So I apologize once again, but yes, welcome all of you back to the United Forum after a very long time. And one reason I specifically decided to have the show today is because it is the last game week of this season. Manchester United's last game this season at Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace's home game as well. A must-win game for us to stay in contention of Europa League football, which is something quite unfortunate to say as well, considering the start we had this season, the dreams that were sold to us and all that. So really disappointed about the way this season is being ended as well. But overall, the last game will be tomorrow, and that is especially why I wanted to have the show. Just wanted to have one last show at least before these power cuts, since it is the last game of the season tomorrow. Manchester United will be taking on Crystal Palace. And yes, once again, let me remind you why you are live. You are live tonight for the pre-match press conference reaction one last time for Ralf Rangnick as the interim manager of Manchester United as well. And that is why you are here. And let me remind you once again, you are here once again to watch the pre-match press conference reaction of Ralf Rangnick one last time as the interim manager. Now, if you have been in touch with our Instagram page as well, and if you have been in touch with our Instagram page, we did have a few difficulties there as well because of the situation in the country, but we have kept you quite updated. Couldn't really update you on this on the show. If you do, and you probably know about this by this time as well, it is that Erik ten Hag is the new Manchester United manager for next season, and Ralf Rangnick will be moving on to a consultancy role where he will only work 6 days for a month, which is quite disappointing. But let's focus on the show as well. It's Ralf Rangnick's press conference reaction, so let's stick to that content. Got plenty of news for you as well, team news coming in, and plenty of updates coming from Ralf Rangnick as well. Quite a few players to be missing that one last important game for Manchester United tomorrow, so a lot of doubts, a lot of question marks there as well. So yes, and Ralf Rangnick's press conference did start off with team news. Now, what Rangnick did have to say on this is, we once again have quite a few players missing and a few with question marks, quite a few missing. He also said, still positive, we will have a strong starting 11 and finish on a strong note. Positive players want to get things right, and positive they would much rather play Europa League and Conference League. Now, what I find a little fishy here is Ralf Rangnick, saying positive players want to get things right. So basically, what he is trying to say there is that the dressing room at Manchester United is split, and that is why he specifically goes with positive players. Why? There are a set of negative players out there as well. Is that what he is trying to hint out there? So a little fishy that he says that specifically as well, and goes on saying positive players want to get things right, and positive they would much rather play Europa League than Conference League. And interestingly, a few weeks back we also did have a report coming out saying that two Manchester United players did have a go out on training, and it was Ralf Rangnick and Cristiano Ronaldo who did have to come and take these two players away, and the training session too had to end on a bizarre manner as well. So it's interesting that he goes on with positive players to get things right, which actually shows that the dressing room in Manchester United is in fact split, and that Ralf Rangnick himself has a huge job to be doing when he comes to take charge of that dressing room. Uh, he also did go on saying you saw with Frankfurt finish bottom half of the Bundesliga but are now in the Champions League. A few are still question marks. Luke Shaw's wife gave birth to their second baby today. We have to just wait and see. Today's training, one or two couldn't finish. Jadon Sancho and Phil Jones had to pull out as well, is what Ralph Rangnick did say. Now, interestingly, that confirms to us that Phil Jones and Jadon Sancho is a doubt for tomorrow's game. Luke Shaw is likely not to play as well since his wife is conceiving their second baby as well. And he also did say in the pre-match press conference, we have a few question marks on a few players, so please don't expect me to name all of them to you. So it will be interesting to see how tomorrow's lineup will go on. We did see Luke Shaw come back to training, but like Rangnick said, his wife is conceiving his second baby as well, so he might not be part of tomorrow's game. So it'll be interesting. I do think my predicted lineup would be Luke Shaw. In fact, I would love to see Luke Shaw on the left, but since there are question marks over his appearance tomorrow, I think it will be Alex Telles. Rafael Varane seems to be fit as well. No question marks on him. Nothing really hinted out from that press conference about Rafael Varane. Hope to see Rafael Varane. I would love to see Victor Lindelof play alongside him, but I do think Harry Maguire will play one last game, and I think it will be Diogo Dalot on the right as usual. Whether we'll go Matic and Fred, or would it be Fred McTominay, I'm not quite sure. I would love to see Matic and Fred play that game. I do think Matic needs to play. It's a crucial game tomorrow in order for Manchester United to be in Europa League football. So I do think we have to go with our best available lineup, and if Matic is available, I would go with him. Play Fred next to him. Up front, it will be Bruno Fernandes, and of course, the front three would be Jadon Sancho. He did have to pull out from training in fact, the final training session he did have to pull out. So once again, Jadon Sancho is a question mark as well. But if he is available, I would go for Jadon Sancho on the left, Ronaldo up front, and Anthony Elanga on right. Now he did say, like I said earlier as well, Ralf Rangnick did say that there are quite a few players who will be missing tomorrow's game, so please don't expect me to name all of them. So it'll be interesting to see who misses out tomorrow's game and who will not miss out tomorrow's game. Welcome back, says Rehana Pakirali. Yes, a very warm welcome back as well. It's good to be back after a very long time, along amidst the situation in the country. So let's move on to the next question that was asked from Ralf Rangnick. A few good questions tonight. Since Eric Ten Hag's arrival at Manchester, was there any discussion between Rangnick and Ten Hag? And what Rangnick did have to say on this is, we have been in contact via WhatsApp. Hopefully have chance to meet and speak in person at the weekend or Monday morning at least. So yes, Ralf Rangnick has not met Eric Ten Hag in person, but I definitely do think when he does meet Eric Ten Hag, he has got a whole book to read, a whole fable to read out to Eric Ten Hag, because there's so much going on at Manchester United. Starting from scratch, Eric Ten Hag's got to make a rebuild. He came in, you saw Rangnick come in as well now, and they have started working on that revamp. They've fired a few. It started, in fact, it started with Edward Wood being retiring, or you could say resigning. Then Richard Arnold coming in, and you saw a lot of staff at Manchester United being removed as well. New people replacing them, people who have some sort of football sense in them, you could say, being replaced. So yes, the club is going in the right direction, starting from Erik ten Hag. Richard Arnold seems to be a more competent CEO than Ed Woodward as well. So the club finally seemed to be going in the right direction. This will definitely take time, and what I'm really afraid about is about Erik ten Hag. The thing is, Erik ten Hag is not the man most pundits and most Manchester United and ex-players, Manchester United legends, Manchester United players and ex-players wanted to be managing Manchester United. Most people preferred Mauricio Pochettino. And we know that Erik ten Hag is not an Englishman. So, the smallest, the finest, the most minute mistake ten Hag makes, we know how the English media reacts to these mistakes. And we definitely know the media will have a go at ten Hag. And now, this is why I am afraid. We as supporters, what we should be doing, the maximum we should be giving is to Erik ten Hag. We should be backing this man. He's got a huge job in his hands, a huge rebuild. He's got to rebuild a rebuild. So a lot of things to do, starting from the players to the staff. He's got to fire people at the staff as well, bring in new people with football sense. Then replace players who don't have the attitude, don't have the capabilities to play in a system like his. So, and considering Manchester United also don't have Champions League football now, things have got much more difficult for us as well. So it is not an easy job for Erik ten Hag. It will definitely take time, at least 3 years, you could say. That's how much you could give for a rebuild. Might even take more time than that, considering the rebuild Erik ten Hag has to do. So yes, give this man time, be patient with him. But I definitely do think that Erik ten Hag is the right man for this job, and Ralf Rangnick is the right man to be upstairs as well. And I finally see Manchester United acting like a proper football club, making proper moves which make sense. And it's finally good to see United back on track. Moving on from that, let's move on to the next question that was asked from Ralf Rangnick, and it was about the recent events that did take place in football. You did see it in the match between, between really sorry about that there, between Crystal Palace and Everton, when Everton did manage to survive relegation. Crystal Palace, in fact, bottled a 2-0 lead. Unfortunately, you can say, unfortunately, if you are an Everton fan. But the next question that was asked by Ralf Rangnick is about the fans invading the pitch. And now what Rangnick did have to say in this about this is that I think it is new. It hasn't happened in the last few years, but it happened in Germany on a couple of occasions. He also says there seems to be an unfortunate trend. I didn't say it yesterday, but if opponents are being involved, I don't think that should happen. I think regardless of opponents, if you are a player now, if you take the situation that did happen, if you are Everton, your opponent is Crystal Palace. If you are Crystal Palace, your opponent is Everton. Regardless, you are an opponent at every occasion. So definitely, I think this should not be done if it is meant to be harming managers or players on the field as well. You did see Patrick Vieira you did see a fan entering Patrick Vieira's personal space there as well, disturbing him, making fun of him, and then Patrick Vieira did lose his patience and did go for it. And that I really don't think there should be a major fine at Patrick Vieira as well. After all, he is human. He has his limits as well. And I did think that fan who did go for it did cross his line. So I definitely do think that Patrick Vieira shouldn't be given a severe punishment. But as Ralf Rangnick says as well, I actually agree with him. It shouldn't be done. It should be banned, in fact, because it puts the players and managers to danger, and also the referees at times as well. So I think this should be avoided at all costs. Let's move on to the next question, a good one. So the next question that was asked from Ralf Rangnick is that the Youth Cup being one of few positives this season, will we see any players from that team play tomorrow? Any youngsters play tomorrow? Rangnick did have a short answer on this as well. Unfortunately, Alejandro Garnacho was ill in the last couple of days. Today, his Today was his first day back after his illness as well. He might be back, but not sure if he is physically fit to play. He really did not hint us out on anything apart from Alejandro Garnacho. I'm not sure if we would see the likes of Shola Shortere. I would love to see Hannibal Medri play because we see Anthony Elanga play on the right as well. And instead of Anthony Elanga, I do think that Hannibal Medri could deliver more to Manchester United because I really do think that Medri is more matured than Anthony Elanga and has a little more to offer than Anthony Elanga. I know Anthony Elanga is a young kid, he's only 19, but I do think he is kind of limited at the moment as well. But I do respect the guy. He is 19, a small lad, yet he has time and a lot of potential as well in him. It's just that he is being used way too much for his age. He should be rotated, in fact, instead of starting 90 minutes week in, week out. What should happen? What should actually happen with Anthony Elanga is that he should be rotated and slowly molded into that first team, but in fact he is being pressed into that first team straight off, being given 90 minutes consecutively week in, week out. I think a good rotational player with him, along with him, would be Hannibal Mejbri, who could play on all sides as well as a number 10 on either sides of the wing as well. I do think he would have more to offer and is far more creative than Anthony Elanga, and that is why I would love to see Hannibal Mejbri play on that right for a change. But I'm not quite sure if we would see any youngsters play that game as well, because it is an important game. We have to get Europa League football to save ourselves some sort of reputation instead of Conference League. I would love to see Manchester United become 8th rather than play for Conference League football, because that would be much easier for Erik Ten Hag as well. He's got a huge job in his hands, and to be having a break from European football would actually help him assess that team well and, you know, have a solid impact on that first season. And I think Europa League football might turn out to be a little bit of a burden as well. So we move on to the next question that was asked from Ralph Rangnick, and the next question is how frustrated Ralph Rangnick is that he specifically couldn't find solutions to the problems at Manchester United. Problems like the defense, the offensive, and other problems was what the journalist was specific about. And now what Rangnick did have to say on this is that the biggest disappointment at Manchester United this season is we spoke about that quite at length in the last press conferences. I think that until we dropped out at Atletico, we have lost confidence, energy in the team. Until then, we had stabilized the team. Until then, we were much more stable defensively. Since Atletico, we just didn't find our shape and form again. It has got to do with confidence, team spirit, and togetherness. This is my biggest disappointment, that we did not establish that team spirit, is what Ralph Rangnick did have to say. Now, apart from team spirit and togetherness, I also do think this plays a part with mentality. I just do think that the Manchester players at Manchester United did not have the right mentality. And interestingly, Manchester United did bring Sascha Lenz, if I'm not wrong, who is psychological something, appointed as something to do with psychology, who's also backed by Ralph Rangnick, and it was an appointment done by him. Interestingly, even after these recruitments at Manchester United, they have not been able to do anything really significant or make an impact as such. So it is interesting that he says about togetherness, team spirit, and confidence. And he also did mention about mentality, which I do think the United players lack at the moment. We do have players who think they are bigger than the club, who should be given priority first before the club as well. Plenty of players out there who need to see the exit door as well and being taught a lesson and their places and where they did come from, because I really do think, like just Sir Alex Ferguson said, no player is bigger than the club. That should be the Manchester United DNA. You know, you talk about Manchester United DNA during Alex Ferguson's time, this, that, you know, they never give up football and all that. Manchester United DNA was brought in by Sir Alex Ferguson. It was not there before that. Sir Alex Ferguson is the one who did bring that Manchester United DNA. And that is why I did say earlier on in my show as well. In fact, few months back, you could say, since we did not have the show for about a month, we talk about the United DNA. We talk about bringing ex players in to have that United DNA. That United DNA was bought by a specific manager, and that is Sir Alex Ferguson. We should cut this crap about talking about United DNA. Bring managers in and help these managers build on their DNA. And that has been the mistake at Manchester United. We try to bring in managers who fit the players when it should be the other way around. We should be bringing players who fit the managers. And finally we have taken the right turn, and it finally seems to be happening. I think there are players out there who definitely should see the exit door, and I do hope all of them see the exit door by the end of this next transfer window. And I hope they don't continue at Manchester United until next season, because if you want to rebuild and make a proper rebuild, that should be done. There are players out there who, if I mention their names, people might have a go at me, but I do think they do need to see the exit door. I'll not mention names right now because we'll see what happens down the line with the transfer window, and also at Manchester United. Let's move on to the next question that was asked from Ralph Rannick. Now, a good question as well. What are the positives Erik Ten Hag can begin this season with? Well, to be honest, the only positive Erik Ten Hag can start is with the changes that have been made in the hierarchy. So you've seen a lot of staff resign, starting from the CEO, Woodward. We brought in Richard Arnold and a few other. Yeah, the head of scouting being removed as well. We did get I think we did get a deputy football director, which is a positive. Those are the slight positives Erik Ten Hag has with him. I disagree a little bit with what Rannick did say. He did say, I still strongly believe that there is a core of players who are top, good enough to play for this club. Hopefully must be here next season. If you bring in the right players, mentality players, I am positive we will be able to bring this club back to the top. Maybe not possible in one window, but next 2 or 3 is what Ralph Rannick did have to say. And what he says, I strongly believe that there is a core of players who are top, good enough to play for this club. I'll tell you what I personally think. None of those players out there in the current Manchester United squad deserve to wear that jersey apart from Cristiano Ronaldo. None of those players, and maybe David Dahi could give him a chance, but apart from those 2 players, none of those players deserve to wear the jersey. And I would actually love to see that whole squad being sold and that money being utilized on proper players, whether these players are 19, 18, 17 or 16. I really don't mind, because I know these players would play for the badge and wouldn't put themselves before the club. And I really don't see a mind seeing that whole squad being sold. And one last question that was asked from Ralph Rannick is, can we have more does Ralph Rannick have more clarity in how much he can be involved now that Erik Ten Hag is here? And now what Rannick did have to say is that we spoke about that in detail, how I could be of help. I think we showed at Hoffenheim, Salzburg and Leipzig that it is possible to identify, develop and sell. This is what is most important for whom it is the next logical step in their career, is what Ralph Rannick did have to say. Now, he also did say Manchester United shouldn't be a selling club, they should be a developing club. But I really do think Manchester United should be a selling club these 2 or 3 seasons, because we've got about 20 to 25 players out there to be sold, apart from Cristiano Ronaldo and David De Gea. And I think all those players should be sold. Getting new players, be 16-year-olds, 17, 18, 19, be from the academy, never mind, because we know that these players would play for that crest on their chest and not put themselves before the club. And what I do like in what Ralph Rannick did say here is that the fact that he hinted out on how he'll be getting a similar role on like the role he did have at Hoffenheim, Salzburg, and Leipzig. He did say we spoke about that in detail, so he has spoken about that in detail as well. How he could be of help. I think we showed at Hoffenheim, Salzburg, and Leipzig. I think that phrase is key where he says, I think we showed at Hoffenheim, Salzburg, and Leipzig that it is possible to identify, develop, and sell. So he will be having a similar role like he did have at Hoffenheim, Salzburg, and Leipzig, and hopefully this role helps Manchester United transform and is a positive for RALF Rangnick as well. For whom this move to Manchester United was huge. Now we do move on to the predicted lineup. Now, interestingly, I have unfortunately I have not updated this, so do bear with me. Do forgive me for that. Yes, I would go with Diogo Dalot at right back, Victor Lindelof profile, one Alex Telles at left back, and no, I will not have Harry Maguire. I would go with Fred. Let's just switch that. Fred, Matic, no Pogba. Would have Anthony Elanga on the right. Do forgive me for not updating this. It's been a really long time since I switched on YouTube to go live, so really forgot what I even had to say today. I really forgot how my intro goes on and all that. So yes, we would go with a 4-3-3 definitely. Cristiano Ronaldo, as you can see, center forward. Anthony Elanga would play on the right for me. Bruno Fernandes as the number 10. I think Nemanja Matic would be that holding midfielder. You would see Diogo Dalot play as a right back. I think Fred would be more of a box-to-box since Matic would be starting. This is, mind you, this is my predicted lineup. So yes, it'll be interesting to see how things go. And this is my predicted lineup. I would love to see Luke Shaw. Excuse me once again. Really sorry about that there. Had a bit of a cold. I would love to see Luke Shaw play on the left, but since he eased out and has not been training the last training session, I think it would be Alex Telles, which would make sense. So it will be Alex Telles on the left, Rafael Varane, Victor Lindelof. I think these two players should switch sides as well. Diogo Dalot on the right, Nemanja Matic holding that midfield. If he does hold that midfield, I do think Fred would play more of a box-to-box role, and Bruno Fernandes would be that feeder number 10. Feeding the three forwards, Jadon Sancho, who is also a doubt. So if Jadon Sancho doesn't appear tomorrow, I think it will be Marcus Rashford, whose name I wouldn't like to see on that team sheet, considering the rumors I have seen. Anthony Elanga on the right and Cristiano Ronaldo up front, and definitely David De Gea between the bars, between the sticks. Now this is my predicted lineup. Do send in your predictions on the live chat on the comment section if you are not watching this live, and if you do get it right, yes, we will have the shout outs going on as well, so don't you worry about that. And also predicted score sheet, in fact score line. Do send in your predicted scores on the live chat and comment section as well, and if you do get that right as well, you will earn yourself a shout out the next show and on our official Instagram page. Now my predicted score would be a 3-0 game, since we are playing Crystal Palace. Important game for us to get Europa League football. I think getting Europa League football would be far more better than Conference League football, and would help our budget a bit as well, rather than being 8th placed and not having any European football. Would have loved to see Manchester United get a Champions League football. Unfortunately, it won't happen. Hopefully, it would be Spurs rather than an Arsenal, because Arsenal are far bigger rivals to us than Spurs, and you definitely don't want your rivals getting Champions League football. So yes, that's pretty much it from tonight's show, folks. I hope you did enjoy the show. It's been a really long time since the United Forum did go live, and I apologize once again for that. Due to the current situation in the country, we couldn't go live because we did have regular power cuts. I did not want the show being interrupted as well, so really apologize for that. We really did miss you, and I know you missed us as well. And it came one last time before the season did end. The season will be finishing tomorrow. Manchester United will be taking on Crystal Palace at 8:30 p.m. Mind you, all matches tomorrow will be at the same time, as it is the last game of the season, last game week of the season. And if you did forget, do go get your transfers in on your fantasy Premier League teams as well. For next season, we'll put the link below once the next season fantasy Premier League updates are out as well. Hopefully, Manchester United win tomorrow's game. A huge summer coming up. Eric Ten Hag will be the manager next season. Ralf Rangnick moving upstairs. Plenty of transfer news coming your way as well within the next few weeks, and plenty of other news outgoings, a huge rebuild for Manchester United, huge season coming up, and more importantly, a huge game for Manchester United coming up tomorrow. Until I see you on the next episode for the match reaction and player ratings. See you again. Have a blessed weekend and a good night. This is the United Forum.